Hello and welcome. Today, once again, we will talk about developing an effective ethics program for any organization, for any industry. This is Chapter 8. We will be using the presentation slides to help you see some of the concepts that are very critical and related to the development of a good ethics program that can be very practical and useful in guiding employees' behavior according to the standards that you as a manager set or your organization has set for everybody to align with. The objectives of this chapter are to help you understand the responsibility of the corporation's stakeholders, to understand why business needs ethics programs, to list some of the minimum requirements that an ethics program should have, and to describe the role of the codes of ethics in identifying key corporate risk areas, to identify factors in successful ethics training, program types, and goals, and finally to examine the ways ethical standards are monitored, the way they are audited, and the way they are actually enforced, so the organization can be consistent in terms of it is overall monitoring as well as reward or punishment that applies in a given situation or behavior, whether it's a good thing that an employee did or a misconduct that should be punished. Ethics programs are designed to encourage ethical decision making in any organization, especially in business, and they must be well designed to prevent major misconduct in the organization. And the responsibility of corporation stakeholder actually has to be taken into consideration because organizations or corporations are viewed as moral agents that are accountable to their stakeholders. And you and I see every single day on television or on various social media websites that the coverage of a specific issue in media about the firm adds to its reputation as a moral agent. Hopefully, we're constantly building that brand of the organization or the reputation. A corporation is created in society to perform specific social functions, and they're accountable to the society for its actions. There is a need for organizational ethics programs. Why? Because it's impossible to know and understand all the laws. And there cannot be millions and millions of laws to guide every single decision or basically tell employees what to do in every single behavior that they make. And we need ethics programs to sensitize employees to potential legal and ethical issues in the work environment. We need ethics programs to increase employees' ethical awareness, participation, and ethical decision making, and to guide their behavior toward being ethical at all times. And we need ethics programs to foster ethical decision making, which requires sometimes terminating unethical employees and improving the company's ethical standards within the community, within the environment, or in a global industry. Sometimes there are certain actions that are associated with employees who are considered to be bad apples. In other words, they don't have strong values that guide their behavior. Therefore, their behaviors are not in alignment with that of the organization. So that one person does not necessarily represent everybody in the corporation, but when that one person's decisions are posted on social media, written about in newspaper, or you see it on television, that means all people who see that, they associate the company with that behavior. So those are what we call bad apples. And also, there are bad barrels. In other words, if many employees are making bad decisions, so employees are not all necessarily bad apples, maybe the barrel or the organization is bad, they have a negative organizational culture that is encouraging bad behavior on the organization. The more misconduct the organization has, the less trust employees feel toward them, and the greater the turnover of those employees will be. Companies are somewhat vulnerable to ethical problems in legal violations if their employees do not know how to make the right decisions. So that's why we need those organizational ethics programs. Finally, we need organizational ethics programs to develop a program that establishes, that communicates, and that monitors ethical values and the legal requirements for the organization's culture, for the industry, and for the country overall. There are some minimum requirements of ethics and compliance programs. Number one, establish standards and procedures to prevent and detect criminal conduct. Number two, ensure the firm's board, top management, and high-level personnel exercise reasonable oversight of those standards and procedures. Three, make reasonable efforts to keep individuals whom organizations knew or should have known to have engaged in illegal activities out of key positions, or even they should be terminated from the organization. Four, communicate standards and procedures by training all the directors, all the employees, and appropriate agents of the organization, or those that you're dealing with vendors and suppliers within the country and outside the country, to make sure the behaviors are in alignment with the company's overall standards. Fifth, monitor and audit the program to detect criminal conduct, to evaluate the program periodically, and to have a system for reporting certain violations that may occur or may have occurred. Six, promote and consistently enforce the program through appropriate incentives and appropriate discipline that is needed. Seven, after criminal conduct is detected, take reasonable steps to respond appropriately and to prevent further similar criminal conduct, including necessary modifications to the ethics and compliance programs. So that's why the continuous improvement process is very important for any ethics program. As part of an effective ethics program, keep in mind that we cannot assume that people know how to behave appropriately in any job, in any firm, or in any business context for their specific tasks. There's organizational probation, which is the use of on-site consultants to observe and monitor legal compliance efforts, as well as to report the company's progress toward avoiding misconduct to the United States Sentencing Commission. And then you have the updated Foreign Corrupt Practices Act guidelines to help all individuals who are dealing with outside companies and foreigners. The Foreign Corrupt Practices Act recommends incorporating incentives into the firm's corporate culture to encourage ethical behavior and to discourage bribery of any individual or official in a foreign environment toward getting things done under the table. There's the Federal Sentencing Guidelines for Organizations, also known as FSGO. So there is the carrot and stick philosophy. The carrot, or the reward, basically means you're hoping to avoid any penalties should a violation occur unintentionally or by a mistake from an employee. The stick, or the punishment, is basically the possibility of being fined or to put on a probation if an organization is convicted of a crime. We must know that the federal judges are encouraged to increase fines for companies that continually tolerate misconduct months after months and years after years. So the Federal Sentencing Guidelines for Organization is there to reduce or even to eliminate fines for companies with extensive compliance programs that actually make due diligence attempts to abide by the legal and ethical standards in their profession. A program that is developed in the absence of misconduct will be more effective than the one that is imposed on a reaction basis to some sort of a scandal or prosecution. So, as I've mentioned before, it is very important that companies make decisions proactively to develop an ethics program based on their values, as opposed to waiting until a misconduct occurs and then reacting to that misconduct by developing an ethics program or a code of ethics that is communicated to all individuals throughout the organization. So be proactive as opposed to reactive. In terms of values versus compliance programs, we know that the value orientation strives to develop shared values. Penalties are often attached, but the focus is on an abstract core of ideals like accountability and commitment. So the values orientation forms the foundation of an organization's ethical culture. Values orientation gives employees a clearly defined basis on which to make decisions. So they can be fair, they can be compassionate, they can be respectful, and they can be transparent. All of these values are paramount to success in any organization. Because we have employee diversity in most organizations nowadays, you should require explicit communication and training from all of your managers regarding financial reporting, use of company resources, and intellectual property. Value orientation increases employees' work ethics awareness, their integrity, their willingness to deliver information to the supervisors, and the use of reporting mechanisms and perceptions of ethical decisions being made in the organization. Research shows that when personal and organizational values are compatible with one another, it tends to positively influence workplace ethics. On the other hand, compliance programs require employees to identify with and commit to specific required conduct. It uses legal terms, statutes, and contracts to teach employees the rules and the penalties for non-compliance. Compliance programs help employees understand the rules of conduct when there are identified risks. Compliance programs are linked to employees' awareness of ethical risk at work and a clear understanding of rules and expectations, which facilitate decision making. Research shows that both value orientation and compliance orientation can interact or work toward the same end, that is, effective decision making on the part of employees and managers. Remember to encourage employees to think critically for themselves and to practice and exercise the core values in the code of conduct and the code of ethics that your organization provides for them onto their day-to-day basis, so they can make decisions that are fully aligned with your ethics statements, with your code of conduct, with your ethics program overall in the standards. Good luck. Remember that ethical behavior is a skill. So you need to police, evaluate, and improve your ethical muscles every single day, so you can manage and guide others effectively in your department, in your organization, and in society in general. Good luck.